For 18 years. My husband and I lived child-free. Then his mistress showed up at my doorstep with a baby bump, screaming that I was a selfish person who takes up the space without using it. Jacob Wilson and I were the golden couple everyone envied. From our clumsy college romance to tearful wedding vows, we built the perfect life together through shared struggles. Our love story read like a fairy tale, sweethearts since adolescence. Thriving careers. Luxury vacations scaling snow-capped mountains and diving coral reefs. We made our pact young, no kids. All our love would go to each other. Our careers. Globe-trotting adventures. And caring for aging parents. These 18 years were blissfully unburdened by diaper changes or school district wars. Our parents thrived in upscale retirement communities while we collected passport stamps and professional accolades. Friends called us #relationship goals. I thought this was our forever. Then came my 43rd birthday. Candlelight flickered across Jake's face as he clutched my hand. Emily, what if we had a baby? Boy or girl? Doesn't matter. I keep thinking who'll care for us when we're old. Ice water drenched my spine. At 43? Gestational diabetes. Preeclampsia. Amniotic fluid embolism. Medical jargon exploded in my mind like grenades. The man I'd loved half my life suddenly seemed alien. Are you insane? I yanked my hand back. This isn't about willingness, it's taking a huge risk with my life. You'd risk me dying on the operating table? He kissed my forehead like always. Forget I said anything. Happy birthday, M. But the trust between us snapped like overstretched violin strings. Women's intuition is terrifyingly accurate. 3 weeks later. The doorbell rang. A pregnant 20-something smirked at me, hand resting on her swollen belly. You must be Emily. Her eyes raked over my linen pantsuit. Jake's wife. Pfft, more like an old hag. No wonder he needs a real woman's company. Do us all a favor, divorce him already. Stop being so selfish. Blood roared in my ears. 18 years. 18 years of loyalty reduced to this swollen-bellied mockery. You've got the looks, I said through numb lips. But where's the dignity? A homewrecker. Let's ask your parents how they raised such a dash. Shut up. Her cheeks purpled. Jake loves me. He'll dump you with nothing but the clothes on your back. Bring it on. I grabbed the broom. Now get off my porch before I test this harm the baby theory. The slam of the door echoed through our marble foyer. I collapsed against it, shaking. One call confirmed my nightmare. Emily. Calm down. Jake panicked when I mentioned the pregnancy. Don't do anything rash. Sophie's in a delicate situation right now. Sophie. Not that woman. Sophie. Ice crystallized in my veins. We're done. Jake. His sigh crackled through the phone. Stop being so dramatic. We'll adopt the baby after birth, put it under your name. You're too old for adoption agencies anyway. Bile burned my throat. I'd rather raise an orphan than your illegitimate child. That's my final word. Think carefully, he said like scolding a child. At your age, you can't afford to be so proud. The dial tone drowned his patronizing tone. 43. Ancient by fertility standards. But young enough to rebuild from the ashes. The call ended as soon as I pressed send. 18 years. 18 goddamn years of love and trust popped like some grotesque soap bubble pierced by a venomous needle. Molten rage and despair churned in my chest. Cry? Not a single tear for that bastard. Surrender? Hand over nearly 2 decades of my life? Hell no. I wiped my face roughly and stood, eyes glinting like shards of Arctic ice. My fingers flew across the phone screen. Brother, I said when the line connected, voice steady as surgical steel. Jake's cheating. Some knocked-up bitch named Sophie came to our doorstep today. I need everything, photos, hotel receipts, bank statements. Dig until you hit bedrock. The silence stretched for 3 heartbeats. I could picture my brother's jaw clenching. that dangerous vein pulsing at his temple. When he finally spoke, fury vibrated through each word. Give me 72 hours. I'll strip them naked in the town square myself. What arrived 3 days later made betrayal taste like battery acid. Emily. My brother's voice crackled through the speaker. The Wilsons orchestrated this. Mr. Wilson and his viper of a wife personally delivered that gold-digging whore to their precious son's bed. A humorless laugh escaped me. Those decrepit vultures had spent years hissing about barren wombs and unused real estate. I'd tolerated their venom during obligatory holiday dinners, swallowing insults like broken glass for Jake's sake. And this was their gratitude, pimping out their son behind my back. 18 years of swallowed pride crystallized into something lethal. Divorce? I interrupted my brother's growling threats. Oh, they'll get divorced. After I carve a pound of flesh for every snide remark, every condescending smirk. My knuckles popped like gunshots. Remember my black belt in judo? Time to remind the city why the name Emily used to make grown men flinch. The memory of our meet cute flashed through my mind, that grimy alley where I'd first seen Jake getting pummeled by street trash. How ironic that they'd mistaken me for some damsel when I'd been the predator all along. The thug's fist had smelled of stale nicotine and failure. His nose had shattered beautifully under my elbow. Tonight, the Wilson family would learn the same lesson those gutter rats had. Emily didn't take detours. She carved paths through the obstacles. The next second, only muffled cracks of dislocated bones, agonized howls, and the thuds of heavy objects hitting the ground remained in the dim alley. The movements were clean and efficient. Not a single ounce of energy wasted. Within moments, the once arrogant gangsters lay moaning in disarray. I brushed imaginary dust from my hands and stepped over the human trash obstructing my path. Behind me, the bloodied boy who'd been beaten moments earlier struggled to his feet, his swollen eyes burning with intensity as they followed my retreating figure. Thus began Jake Wilson's relentless shadowing, my personal barnacle. Later, when his injuries healed into that polished corporate facade, I thought, why not? 18 years passed. 18 years of sheathing my claws to play the perfect wife, the model daughter-in-law. Did you all forget so easily? Forget who saved whom in that alley. Forget what happened to those thugs. Did you think Emily Johnson's fangs had dulled? That my temper had softened? Cross me, and my creed remains unchanged, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Hurt me once, and I'll make you bleed 100-fold. Jake Wilson, Sophie Brown, Mr. and Mrs. Wilson, since you dared prick my bubble, don't complain when I turn your lives into sieves. My brother's sharp inhale crackled through the phone. Just don't dirty your hands. Need anything? I'll call when it's your cue. I cut in calmly. Keep mom and dad out of this. The blueprint of vengeance glowed crystal clear. Liquidating all assets. I hired the best viral marketing team. Target locations, every elevator bank in Sophie's luxury apartment complex. Employee cafeteria at Wilson Enterprises. The ancient oak in Jake's hometown square. High-definition photos flooded our social circles, timestamps. Locations. Captions screaming, Corporate VP Jake Wilson, married, impregnates Mistress Sophie Brown. Homewreckers exposed. After that call, Jake disappeared, typical cowardice. Trying to freeze me into submission with silence. Joke's on him. The front door exploded inward. I glanced up from my book as Jake stormed in. Eyes bloodshot. Was this you? He roared, slamming flyers on the coffee table. I'm getting death stares everywhere. My boss fired me over moral failures. Are you happy now? I met his glare evenly. Does the truth sting? Jake? You screwed around. Now face the consequences. Hypocrite. He loomed closer. You think this doesn't splash back on you? People will laugh at the pathetic wife who couldn't keep her man. My laughter sliced through his bluster. Listen well, I'd rather be the hysterical shrew who burns cheating scum than the understanding wife swallowing your bullshit. You couldn't keep your dick in your pants. Yet blame me? That rotting logic makes me sick. Cold steel entered my voice. This world loves making women accountable for men's filth. Not anymore. Enjoy hell. Jake. The barrage of accusations and naked contempt struck like a series of slaps across his face. Jake flushed crimson, then deathly pale, his throat working soundlessly before he spat. You're being completely unreasonable. You lunatic! He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. By noon, he returned. This time he didn't approach directly, pacing like a caged animal in the living room while stealing glances at me. Finally, he settled on the opposite couch with a glass of water, forcing a smile. Emily, he began with manufactured gravitas. After hours of reflection, this stalemate benefits no one, especially my career. I kept flipping through my magazine as if he were furniture. Undeterred, he plowed ahead. The rumors are spiraling out of control. Corporate pressure is mounting. The solution lies with you. With me? I nearly laughed. This ought to be good. We shared 18 years. Emily, you wouldn't want my ruin. He leaned forward, eyes gleaming. Simply issue a statement claiming those photos were products of jealousy, that you fabricated the affair between me and Sophie. A lover's spat. The public eats that up. My reputation recovers. Our family. I stared at his calculating expression, barely containing my mirth. This man expected me, the betrayed wife, to absolve his adultery and illegitimate child. To whitewash that home-wrecking Sophie's reputation? The audacity scraped new depths. 18 years of marriage. And you birthed this rancid cocktail of idiocy and narcissism? I rose, towering over him. You want me to shoulder blame for your dick-driven disasters? To sanitize your bastard-spawning affair? Jake. Do you mistake me for a fool or the world for your mirror? His face purpled. Must we air dirty laundry for all to see? 18 years you suddenly remember? Because I refused breeding stock duty? My laugh turned icy. So your limp self-control becomes my failing? Your betrayal my miscalculation? Your bastard child my oversight? This victim-blaming act reeks of desperation. He spluttered. If you'd just... The water glass flew before I registered moving. Liquid sheeted down his sputtering face. Emily! He screeched, dripping like a drowned rat. More outrageous than your mistress's swollen belly? I hefted the metal clothes rack, voice dripping venom. You want outrageous. Jake? Let's dance. The rod whistled through air as he scrambled backward. Former arrogance replaced by animal terror, the perfect mirror to our shattered marriage. Ah. Don't hit me. It hurts. I'm sorry. Emily. I'm really sorry. Please stop. I screamed, cowering on the floor. Have mercy. Jake was no match for me. The pathetic worm scrambled across the hardwood, howling like a wounded animal before collapsing at my feet. Tears and snot streamed down his face as he begged. Too late. 18 years of lies. Sophie's smug face flashing through my memory. The vile filth he'd spewed moments earlier. Rage surged through my veins like molten steel. I raised my stiletto-clad foot and brought it down hard. The inhuman shriek that tore from his throat could have shattered glass. Jake curled into fetal position, ghost pale and twitching like a stepped-on roach. Somewhere beneath his designer slacks, I imagined his precious family jewels turning to pulp. Robert. Listen. Is that Jake? Mrs. W's shrill voice carried through the door. Sweet Jesus. What's happening? Fists pounded against wood. Emily. You deranged bitch. Open this door. Mr. W's voice shook with fury. Touch one hair on my son's head and I'll skin you alive. Jake. Answer your mother. Their hysterical wailing crescendoed as they called 911. Police arrived within minutes. breaking down the door with the hysterical Wilsons in tow. The scene that greeted them, Jake moaning on the floor like a gutted fish, his Armani-clad body mottled with bruises. Mrs. W threw herself at him, howling like a banshee. "My baby! Where did she hurt you? Tell me." Mr. W jabbed a trembling finger at me. "Officers, look what this monster did to my son. She's his wife. Even if he made mistakes. This is attempted murder. Arrest her. Prosecute." I brushed imaginary lint from my blazer. He tripped. Not my problem. The lead officer examined Jake's injuries, mostly superficial except for the groin trauma. "Ma'am," he said sternly, "domestic violence is never the answer. You need to communicate, not assault." I bowed my head contritely. "You're absolutely right, officer." I let anger cloud my judgment. "It won't happen again." My inner voice sneered, "Next time I'll use ice packs to reduce bruising." Mrs. W nearly choked on her rage. "She's lying. Lock her up before she kills him. This is a civil matter." The officer sighed. "No serious injuries. But ma'am he fixed me with a look. "Any repeat offenses will have consequences." I stood tall. "I promise not to touch them, provided they don't insult, threaten, or provoke me first." As police left, my pleasant mask dissolved. The Wilsons shrank back as I smiled. "Thinking the cops would take your side? How quaint." I circled them like a shark. "Until those divorce papers are signed, I'm still Mrs. Jacob Wilson. If I accidentally cripple him, I let the implication hang. Prison's temporary. The life insurance payout? That's forever." Mr. W's face turned sheet white. "Why, you're bluffing." "Am I?" I purred. "How long do you think Sophie and her bastard brat will last once I control the Wilson fortune? That gold-digging incubator you picked for your precious heir." Mrs. W lunged at me, then froze as I grabbed a marble bookend. "Try it. Let's see if the cops make it back in time." The color drained from their faces. They finally understood the meek Chinese daughter-in-law had been playing the long game. And checkmate was coming. The woman let out a shriek and lunged at me like a feral animal. "I'll tear that filthy mouth of yours," she screamed. Anticipating this, I sidestepped and delivered a sharp kick to her ribs. Mrs. W crashed onto her back, her head smacking the hardwood floor with a sickening thud as she writhed in pain. "Emily! She's your mother-in-law," Mr. W shouted, his trembling finger jabbing the air between us. "Mother-in-law?" I turned my fury toward the hypocritical old man. Decades of resentment boiling over. "Funny you should mention that. You pimp. Wasn't it you who swore to respect our decision to remain childless at our wedding? Who promised you'd never pressure us?" I advanced on him as he backpedaled. "But the moment we said I do, your whole family developed selective amnesia. Years of snide remarks about barren hens and wasted opportunities weren't enough?" My finger slashed through the air, pointing at the whimpering Mrs. W and her pale-faced son Jake. "You two actually went shopping for broodmares. Pimped out your precious boy to that Sophie Brown. You're not parents, you're a madam and her pimp husband." Mr. W's neck flushed crimson. "Every decent wife bears children. The Wilson line must continue. We thought you'd come around." "Come around?" I laughed bitterly. "To your son's affair, baby? To your medieval matchmaking?" Rage ignited in my chest like wildfire. "Today, I'm settling 18 years of debts." When the old man lunged with a gnarled hand, I twisted his arm behind his back until he face-planted on the floor. Grabbing the feather duster from the hall table, I unleashed years of pent-up fury on their fleshy thighs and backsides. The once proud Wilsons scrambled like cockroaches, their howls music to my ears. "Mercy!" Mrs. W blubbered through split lips. "We were wrong." I tossed the broken duster aside, watching the cowering trio, This is just the beginning. From then on, the Wilson household became my personal stress relief zone. When Jake mouthed off slap Mrs. W's passive-aggressive comments backhand Mr. W's patriarchal posturing boot to the shin. Their whimpers when I entered a room became my new favorite symphony. 2 weeks later, the battered couple confronted their son. She's trying to kill us and steal everything. Mrs. W wailed through her bruised jowls. Jake stared at his parents' battered faces, realizing too late that his demure wife had become their worst nightmare. Mr. W glanced around as if fearing eavesdroppers, his voice dropping lower like a serpent's hiss. We need to make her disappear in an accident. Jake's body stiffened. An accident? How? She's cunning. And if she dies, the assets would rightfully be yours. Mr. W stated with finality. You're her legal husband. The money, properties, shares, all would transfer to you. Then we could bring Sophie and the child home openly. No more living like hunted animals, terrified she'll beat us to death. Mrs. W nodded vigorously. Listen to your father. Jake. Kill that barren bitch. I'll help stage it, gas leak or car crash. Car crash. Jake's eyes gleamed with sudden inspiration. She's going to the country club spa Thursday afternoon. That back road's deserted at night. I could, he mimed, swerving a steering wheel, murderous intent radiating from him. The elderly Wilsons exchanged glances, sick hope kindling in their clouded eyes. Do it, Mr. W rasped. But be careful. Leave no traces. I will. Jake inhaled deeply, face set in grim determination. They never noticed the hidden cameras capturing every twitch of their murderous expressions, every venomous whisper. High-definition lenses even caught the primal bloodlust in Jake's eyes as he plotted my demise. Perfect. I'd been contemplating how to end this farce. And here they were delivering their own news. Accident? Car crash? Let's see who outsmarts whom. Grabbing a burner phone, I texted my only contact, target, Jacob Wilson. Location, West Side XX Road. Mission, drunk driving accident. Payment, triple rate. Execute immediately. The SIM card snapped in half before the sent notification finished blinking. My pulse raced not from fear, but exhilaration. You want me dead in a car crash? Jake? Let me show you what real irony tastes like. That evening, I noisily gathered my purse. The resounding slam of the front door doubtless made all three Wilsons exhale in relief. On the security feed, Jake crept to the foyer whispering, I'm checking on Sophie. If she asks, say I took out the trash. Mrs. W clutched his arm anxiously. Hurry back before that she-devil returns. Watching Jake slink out like a common thief, I sipped Merlot in my silk robe. Go comfort your mistress. Jake. Savor these final hours. Golden morning light filtered through bay windows as I buttered croissants the next day. The local news murmuring about a fatal drunk driving accident on West Side XX Road. How tragic, the vehicle had veered into oncoming traffic, bursting into flames upon impact. Dental records would be needed for identification. The phone's ringtone shattered the silence. An unknown number. I answered irritably. Who is this? MS. Emily? This is City Police Department's Homicide Division. We regret to inform you that your husband Jake died last night from injuries sustained in a DUI bridge collision. Clang! My silver chopsticks slipped onto the bone china plate. WH what? My voice cracked with practiced disbelief. My husband's dead? But he was fine yesterday. Perfect performance of a grieving wife. Behind the kitchen door came stifled gasps. Those old fools were eavesdropping. Jake didn't come home last night? Mrs. W's voice trembled. I had a headache and went to bed early. Mr. W replied shakily. They came stumbling out moments later. Mrs. W snatched my phone. Shrill voice piercing, "Officer. What happened to my son?" "Repeat that." The officer calmly reiterated the news. "My boy." Mrs. W's wail rose to a shattered glass pitch as she collapsed, pounding the floor. "How could you leave me? How do I live now?" The funeral was pitifully sparse. Jake's fair-weather friends had vanished after his disgrace. His parents sobbed themselves into unconsciousness repeatedly, returning home as broken husks. They died within weeks of each other, grief-stricken fools to the last. I handled their arrangements dutifully. Cremation. Ashes scattered to the wind. Before weeds could sprout on Jake's grave, Sophie arrived with that obscene baby bump, flanked by her shameless parents. "Emily." She jutted her chin defiantly. "This is Jake's only heir. The estate belongs to this child." I sipped my tea without looking up. "Says who? Where's your proof? Think courts hand out money for sob stories? We'll do a DNA test." I leaned forward, smirking. "With his ashes? You planned this." She trembled with rage. "That's why you filed for divorce." "So?" I shrugged lazily. "Courts require evidence. Whose bastard you're carrying means nothing to me." Her mother stepped forward, rat-like eyes gleaming. "Miss Johnson, my poor girl was deceived by that scoundrel Jake. The baby's innocent. Surely you'll show mercy?" The laugh escaped before I could stop it. "Mercy?" I stared at Mrs. Brown like she was some rare specimen of idiocy, mockery dripping from my gaze. The Brown family's hereditary shamelessness never ceases to amaze. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, does it? Where was your precious family honor when you pushed your daughter to become a homewrecker, crawling into another woman's marriage bed? Now you have the gall to come begging for money. My voice turned glacial. "Get out." Sophie shrieked like a scalded cat. "Emily, you can't do this. That money belongs to Jake. My son is his flesh and blood." Because I said no. I rose, the force of my presence driving them back a step. "Last warning, produce irrefutable proof this child is Jake's. Or get the hell off my property. One more trespass and I'll have you arrested." The venom in her glare could have poisoned the air. "You'll regret this." I knew she'd keep digging. When she finally wormed the truth from one of Jake's washed-up buddies, that the Wilson patriarch and matriarch had passed with no surviving heirs, her wails of despair probably echoed through 3 zip codes. They still dumped the squalling infant on my doorstep with a note declaring him Jake's posthumous heir. I snapped 2 photos, one for the cops, one for social media. When officers tracked down Sophie, her paper-thin maternal act crumbled faster than a sandcastle in high tide. Clutching the baby, she radiated equal parts bewilderment and hatred. I made sure their misery multiplied. Every time they relocated, their new neighborhood got plastered with flyers detailing the mistress who abandoned her own child. When Sophie tried trapping some poor schmuck, I'd generously inform him about her illustrious homewrecker career and fatherless baby. The Browns cracked first. The social climbers who'd bankrolled their daughter's gold digging now became the town laughingstock. Their family dinners devolved into screaming matches laced with curses. The final blow came years later. The boy, now 12, called Sophie from school after enduring relentless bullying. His prepubescent voice shook with loathing. "Why'd you have to be some rich guy's whore? You ruined my life. I wish I'd never been born. I wish you were dead." Her tearful "I was young and stupid" pleas dissolved under his torrent of abuse. Standing on the bridge railing with traffic roaring below, she finally understood the true cost of boarding Jake's Golden Express to hell. Her last act was stepping into empty air, falling like discarded trash toward the churning river, a fitting end for the human wreckage she'd become. There was no scream, only a muffled splash quickly swallowed by the urban noise. The news reached me as I basked in the sunlight of a Provençal vineyard, golden rays warming my skin while the scent of grapevines mingled with the aroma of liberation. "Oh!" She jumped. I remarked. swirling the crimson wine in my glass that sparkled like rubies under the Mediterranean sun. My tone as casual as discussing the weather. What a waste. Having survived my own farcical existence, I'd long since gained clarity. Men. 43 years old, advanced maternal age. Gestational hypertension. Diabetes. Amniotic fluid embolism. All those so-called necessities imposed by society. The Wilson family. And Jake himself. Now I see them for what they truly were, soul-crushing shackles. I, Emily, reject all forms of bondage. The world's vast expanses are mine to wander. Today I might watch snowflakes dance from a cabin at the foot of the Alps. Tomorrow I could be sipping coconut water on a Caribbean beach. When a place captures my fancy, I rent a cozy apartment for months. When wanderlust calls, I pack my leather satchel and book a one-way ticket to any dot on the map that whispers adventure. The wind of freedom tousles my hair as I stand upon endless horizons. No schemes. No betrayals. No nauseating entanglements. Just me and the life I've claimed as my own. When fatigue sets in, I visit home, play mahjong with my contentedly retired parents. Share single malt whiskey with my ever-supportive brother. This is the existence worthy of Emily.